Would you rather face extreme cold or blistering heat? There's yet a third option to choose from. While you have a choice, hundreds of homeless people in Arizona and Alaska do not. The extreme homelessness crisis has transformed its major cities into a version of a post-apocalyptic movie. I mean, we've seen better days in these cities. It's like the cities took a wrong turn and ended up in a Hollywood movie set for Zombieland. The death toll in these places keeps rising by the day as a result. Join me as I dive into exploring these particular places where the terrible fate of people experiencing homelessness beats your imagination. If you had a roof over your head, a warm bed to return to, and a working heating system, the dropping temperatures wouldn't bother you. Just get properly kitted when you go outside and you're all right. For the homeless, it is a serious threat to survival. Many fears for their lives as the days and nights get colder. Without a decent place to get warmth from the unforgiving cold, the days look rather bleak. It is more problematic knowing that the cold isn't all they have to battle. In Alaska, over the past weeks, a great percentage of Anchorage homeless people's deaths have been attributed to the cold. A body on the sidewalk, another in the front of a shop, another inside a temporary tent. These disturbing discoveries are causing a major panic, and some not very smart solutions have been mentioned that have sparked major outrage among citizens. Alaska's homeless problem stems from a lack of affordable housing, unemployment, and the high costs of living crisis. When you do find a house, the prices are staggering. Not a lot of people can comfortably pay such hefty prices each month. Add this to the inflation taking place and the way money doesn't go a long way anymore, then you've got yourself quite a proper problem. Keeping up with the bills is already a struggle for many, and changes to the price of rent eventually lead to the eviction of families. Away from potentially deadly winter temperatures, environmental hazards like bears are also causing the homeless in Anchorage to worry. They risk attack from the frigid temperatures and bears scavenging for food in shelters. This worry has grown to substantial levels after the city closed up some shelters in an attempt to keep the city clean. A year ago, the city had hundreds of people staying at the Sullivan Arena, a complex used for hockey games, concerts, and graduations that became converted to an emergency shelter during the coronavirus pandemic. Neighbors had complained about open illegal substance use, trespassing, violence, and garbage. As officials moved to close the shelter, there were no plans put in place as to where the displaced people were going to live. To contain the problem of frozen bodies turning up every so often, the mayor of Anchorage, David Bronson, suggested flying homeless people to warmer climes. It's freeze or fly to him. It is better to spend a couple of dollars on flight tickets rather than spending it feeding and housing the homeless. Of course, this sounded pretty offensive, as a good number of the homeless are citizens and not illegal migrants. Suggesting that people leave their country because they can't afford a house is rather insensitive and doesn't solve the homeless problem. Come for the cold, leave for the heat. Courtesy of the mayor's travel agency should be Alaska's new slogan. While the mayor didn't name any spots, there's a concern in Hawaii could be on the list. Lately, Honolulu has been a popular option for states looking to reduce their homeless population. Honolulu's mayor, Rick Bangliardi, is rejecting this entirely, saying governors should come up with a solution in their lands rather than ship their problems to a different place. It seems Hawaii can't afford to care for more homeless people. The largest homeless service provider has stopped allowing out-of-state arrivals in its shelters. Those who came in from other states with the hope of having a different experience from their sad fate have been hugely disappointed. They're in now and trapped with nothing to do. The major thing they're glad over is the warmth in contrast to the cold they faced. Otherwise, many wish to go back to their homes. The beaches, which are now popular spots for the homeless, are covered with shift tents. Illegal substance use is prevalent and crime rate is high. Over in Arizona, a dark contrast from Alaska's cold is observed. Doctors and surgeons are warning people to be careful of touching outside surfaces with hot metal, concrete, or asphalt to avoid being burned. Arizona is experiencing a record-breaking intense heat as temperatures have soared past 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The homeless population are at the receiving end of it and is among those most likely to die in the extreme heat in Metro Phoenix. Heat stroke is claiming lives the same way Alaska's cold is a threat. It is a common sight to see them with peeling skin and some makeshift cooling tools to battle the heat. Out in the zone, an encampment filled with homeless people, that the heat is more intense due to the presence of that many people. This encampment is going to be shut down too. The homeless people move very cautiously so they do not fall on the simmering black asphalt to avoid third-degree burns. The recent temperatures are making it hard for people's bodies to cool down, more so those who live in flimsy structures without air conditioning or fans. Oh, Arizona, where the heat's so friendly. Who needs affordable housing when you've got sizzling pavement as an option? They do get some relief from well-meaning individuals to help during the stifling heat. The Zone, which sheltered over 10,000 people, surrounds the Human Services campus where everything from shelter to food to healthcare is provided. On some hot days, the local transportation agency Valley Metro sends over a couple of empty buses so people can sit for hours in the air conditioning. Personal, people distribute hygiene items, sunscreen, lip balm, hats, and cooling rags to the homeless. With the recent order to close the place, there are not enough shelters or affordable housing to protect the homeless population from the extreme heat. Nylon or a tarp temporary structure all the time on pavement. Asphalt just makes the heat only worse for the homeless. Currently, more than 13,000 people are experiencing homelessness in Arizona. Many have found temporary shelter out on the street, in some abandoned cars, and in some completely inappropriate places. The shortage of housing in Arizona is crippling. This is making the prices of those available to shoot up. Some landlords are taking advantage of the situation and are increasing rents. Who said humans were compassionate again? What this means is that those who have a home for now are at a risk of being kicked out if they are unable to keep up with rent. In fact, many of the homeless people in Arizona aren't immigrants. That's right. When you ask a couple of them, you'll learn that they were thrown into this situation because they couldn't afford the extra $100 to pay their rent. The homeless are your regular neighbors. Only a few cases are as a result of illegal substance abuse. The lines get blurred because most of the homeless people end up having a mental breakdown or a drinking problem. With scorching heat and a scarcity of shelters, what inventive methods might arise to provide relief for Arizona's homeless? Let us know in the comment section. Now the city with the third awful option. Down. In Los Angeles, California is a community that makes it impossible to ignore the homelessness crisis. Skid Row, a popular area in Los Angeles, is known because it traps its homeless people alive. You can see mold on walls and the smell of dead rats decaying in the walls. Fentanyl, the deadly synthetic opioid, is ruining lives and claiming lives faster than the heat and cold in Arizona and Alaska. There's a darker side to fentanyl. Illegal substance users, largely untreated mentally ill people, and lawless behavior are the norms over there. Other problems pursue this community too. There are gangs who pretend to be homeless and use the tent encampments to sell fentanyl and other drugs. This opioid is around 50 times stronger than heroin, and a minute amount can easily lead to an overdose, even for experienced users. There are too many cases of overdoses, violent crimes, sexual assault related to dealing, and guns have become more common. Some of these dealers have made a substance called tranq. When this is taken with fentanyl, it rots your skin. Skid Row is like the Coachella of homelessness, makeshift tents and crowded shelters stretching for miles. It's a collision between mental health issues and a DIY tent city trend. Honestly, they need a better event planner down there. About 9,200 to 15,000 individuals make up the population of this community. What does the future hold for the homeless? From the freezing streets of Alaska to the scorching pavements of Arizona and the bleak reality of Skid Row in Los Angeles, the plight of the homeless transcends weather extremes. With soaring rents, inadequate shelters, and systemic neglect, the homeless face life-threatening challenges daily, demanding urgent, comprehensive solutions beyond temporary relief.